I remember I read one English, can't remember very well now. He said, time past and time present are contained in time future. And time future is in time past. So the world goes in a circle. So if you don't understand yesterday very well, you cannot plan for tomorrow. And I believe that part of the problems we have, we've interpreted the contemporary political situation, is the fact that we have not even studied our own past to take advantage of the strengths of our own past.
They revolted against abnormal tax.
Yes, and sold native authority. They revolted against abnormal tax for women, sold native authority, and asked for representation in the government.
And the men did not listen initially.
And the men did not listen initially. They protested for 7 days. They become an instrument of violence on the entire Egba nation, on the Alake of Abeokuta, Oba Samuel Oladapo Ademola. He thought it was a joke. They harassed them by bringing out oracles and said that whoever sees that oracle will not see the next day. Fumilayo grabbed the stick and now told Oba Ademola that you have been terrorizing us with your pennies and saying that you are our husband. Today we are going to revise the order, and use our vagina in Yoruba to now take over the role of husbands. And when this man, this also literate Oba, Egba was a literate society. As far back as the 1880s, the Alake of Egba land had visited England, the Queen of England. So they didn't believe that it would happen. And then the Alake had the support of the Oyinbos, the colonial officer, who threatened Fumilayo.
Some of them were even beaten up.
Fumilayo grabbed the steering of the Oyinbo man, the DO, and said he would not leave the palace.
This is pure resistance.
Pure resistance. The man squeezed himself out and escaped. He said Fumilayo was a devilish woman. And Fumilayo replied that you are born but not bred.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
But by this time, there was no victor, no vanquished.
That was the grammar that they were pushing to the international community. And that was one of the responsibilities of Emeka, to make sure that this no vanquished, no victor, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and all the 3 R's, they were all grammar. You are rehabilitating people and you are giving my father, with all the money he had, with ACB, African Continental Bank, and Melverton Avenue, Aba, you are giving him £20. That he withdrew money during the war. If he didn't withdraw money during the war, how could he have fed his family? And the thing goes round. Chuks Lebunan will give you his own experience from his own father too. Can you give my father £20? He had a lot of money at ACB.
Was Awolowo wrong for that policy? Or is it go on? But Awolowo was the Commissioner of Finance.
No, but the ball rose and remains at the table of Yakubu. When people call that policy was engineered and pushed down the throat of the federal government in February or March 1970 by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, it doesn't make any sense to me. The ball stopped on his table.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
I found serious moral rectitude among the Igbo girls.
So the point is that Awolowo didn't hate the Igbos.
Never. He didn't. This woman Odumadu was the leader of the woman leader of the UPN, an Igbo woman. Awolowo did not hate the Igbos at all. Awolowo had no stomach for hatred.
But some would say Awolowo should have avoided that war cabinet.
It was a call for duty. He didn't. Gawan released him from prison. If Gawan said he needed his wisdom, he needed his service, he needed his expertise, of course.
To fight against the Igbos.
Not to fight. He was in the cabinet before the war started, so it couldn't have been to go and fight the Igbos.
But before the war started, it was clear that Nigeria was moving towards a war situation.
Yeah, that was not Awolowo's creation. It was the creation of those the Igbos continue to worship.
The Igbos continue to worship who?
They continue to worship those who hated them and who treated them like they didn't belong to this world.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
The man who perfects himself in energy, economy, integrity, and system will achieve an enduring success in the work of his life, no matter the nature of that work. It is impossible for one to fail who is full of energy, who carefully economizes his time and money, and virtuously husbands his vitality. That man or woman who practice unswerving integrity and who systematizes his work, that person will meet a great success. That person will live a life of peace and harmony. So, stand on the noble ground. Let integrity be your character. If you do that, you will find a high place in the world. You will find a high place in the estimation of men. Your success will be certain, and your prosperity will endure. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmondo Bilo. The radio man is here. The theme of this class is Understanding Modern Nigeria. Donald Trump threatens and will run helter-skelter. Bandits on rampage and will feel threatened. Yes. The soldier man stands his ground, and Wike did not relent, and we are agitated. Children are taken from schools, and we cry loud, as if we don't know that these events are the product of our actions. I thought we should know by now that these events will happen. Every society is a product of its actions. But somehow, the understanding of why these things happen will help us solve them. The reason I've entitled this class, Understanding Modern Nigeria, where we are coming from. Welcome to the class of history, politics, and power. I want to take you into some time past. And that is why I have to bring Dr. Yemi Farumbi in now. We will move in, explore it, and you help me understand the point he makes in this interview. How deep is your understanding of the Fulani? How deep is your understanding of the Fulani? Because I know when you talk about bandits, they come to your mind. How deep is your understanding of the Igbo? It seems that that competition among the ethnic tribes will not end. Why is the Igbo angry with Obafemi Awolowo? Why? This edition of the program will answer some of these questions. So let's bring in Dr. Yemi Farumbi here. He talks about the Fulani. So he takes us back to the war of the 19th century.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
If you take the Kiriji War, the Ekitis don't call it Kiriji War. They call it Ekiti-Parapo War. Because it was the war that bound them together, that they became known not as if a confederation, which was what they have been. They became a federation. That spirit helped them to build a college. They called it Ekiti-Parapo College. That spirit built communalism, some pride, some arrogance. You see, sometimes intellectual arrogance that you see in Ekiti, some raw courage. It came after that war. So when they look at the war, they see it as their own symbol of sovereignty, symbol of independence. Whereas the Badaboon see it that way. They see it as teaching some rebels lesson. You know. So for you to get a correct history, you must be able to integrate and read both. Know from where each person is coming from.
But from what we know now, both sides lost the war. They lost it to Britain.
Absolutely. They lost it the day they accepted the protection of Britain. They lost it. Because if they were not fighting, I mean, Lagos attempted to reject the British protection. The Ijebus did. The Benin did. If they were not fighting themselves, it is possible that it would have been impossible, near impossible, given the kind of bravery you saw in the Kiriji War, for Britain to have come in that easily. It would have required a fight. But they didn't fight. They came in as a mediator, sometimes wearing their suits and cassocks and their collars, doing priestly and religious oh, don't fight. It is not good to fight. And at the end, because he was the only one they trusted, he took over the control. Both sides, all of us lost the war.
And even before the Kiriju War, Yoruba city-states were in perpetual warfare.
Yeah, they were in perpetual war because they were not empire builders. If a Yoruba city-state A goes to attack city-state B and he conquers it, he will take slaves, he will take property, animals, women, and come back and leave those people. They will grow again. They were not imperialists. You know what the imperialists would do, which is what they did in Ilorin? They didn't capture any slave. They just removed the Oba. They did it in the Hausa kingdom and put the Fulani as the emir. He becomes the protector. The Yorubas won't do that. The Yorubas will just come back. Don't do that again, no. If you do it again, we will come. They come back to their city-state. And then that city-state that was devastated today will grow. Maybe it has a leader that becomes very strong. It attacks. Then they do the return battle again. You know, whoever wins, none will stay to perpetually dominate the other.
Was that an advantage for the Yoruba nation?
No.
But Oyo built an empire.
Yes, and one of the reasons why it collapsed is that. Yeah, they built an empire that expanded into being a republic and so on and so forth. But they didn't. You see, when Britain was building his empire, it would send a governor general or a lieutenant general who has allegiance to the king or the queen. He reports to the king or the queen all over where they was scattered about. That is imperialist approach.
And the Fulanis did that well.
Exactly.
Perhaps the reason Britain loved them
is the reason. They have a similarity in attitude.
It was easy to relate with them.
Exactly. They found that entirely in the South, there's none of us that has imperialist capacity, imperialist intention. There's nobody who wants to dominate the other. Yeah, you fight for your rights, you say to it, you go. But these people have the same British capacity to establish dominion over others. So they saw it and they loved that.
And that's strategic, is it not?
Absolutely. It was easier for them to govern the Northern Protectorate.
Indirect rule.
Indirect rule. They came to decide it was direct. Because there are no imperialist centers that can be used to manipulate or control the mass of people in the South.
And Yoruba warriors were able to stop that imperialist character in the Oshobo War.
Yes. So, now, if they were imperialists, they had an immediate option because they've captured five of their warlords. No, I think 3 of them were Yorubas fighting for Afajah. They sent them to the Alafin then, who dealt with them. If they had pursued the Fulani, they would have recovered the Ilorin.
Or they alone wanted to do that.
But they didn't. Because they had just come to prevent them from entering Oshobo. Those who have imperialist intentions, expansionists, territorial aggressiveness, will have pursued them to Ilorin, and even from Ilorin,
moving.
They did it.
Does the Fulani still have that character?
They do.
Because see, from history, we can see the character.
No, it's part of their DNA. And because they have imperialist tendency, if they have been able to conquer the Yorubas, for example, they would have brought Emas, and they'll be speaking Yoruba. Okay? They speak your language. They pretend to be part of you. You begin to see them as part of you. So you won't feel that it's an outsider. But they speak their language Fufude only among themselves. When it came to the Hausa kingdoms, there are multiple of them like the Yoruba, and they decimated them and replaced them with Emas. They spoke the Hausa language. In fact, they started calling themselves Hausa Fulani. Okay? So you feel comfortable. But their own language is preserved. Their own culture is preserved. There are things that the Fulanis won't do. They're proud. Very proud. When you see people from the north doing many jobs, check who they are. They won't be Fulanis. They don't. Yes, they may be cattle rearer, but you find them polishing shoes, helping you in farms and so on. It won't be them. They won't. So they have that closeness. I mean, I say to all of us, we haven't studied them. We need to study them. Because if we study them, it's not with a view of defeating them, but a view of understanding their strategies, the way they work. It is not likely a Fulani man will rob you, steal what is in your pocket and run away. He won't do that. He will kill you. And then take whatever he wants to take. They have characteristics.
So what is it about the political character of Ibadan, Yoruba land, to have been able to stop such an advanced army of the Fulani?
Like I said, it took the intelligence gathering and strategic planning. It's really, the Yorubas have the capacity when they choose to.
When they choose to?
When they feel threatened. Now, let me explain this way. Lots of people think the Yorubas are lazy, easygoing. They love parties. They don't like fighting. So they were shocked when we had Operation Wete. They didn't realize that the Yorubas enjoy themselves so long as they don't feel threatened. When they felt threatened in 65, that because they saw the progressive infiltration of their political processes, institution and system by the North.
By the Fulani North?
Yes. And they had thought that if they did their election, Awolowo would come back, he will resist. Okay? The election got rigged. So they fought back. They felt threatened. They now felt personally, individually, and collectively threatened. So they fought back.
And that was the end of that period.
That was the end of the period.
The next epoch was the Civil War.
Civil War. Without them, there would have been no Civil War. Because the kind of thing that was happening in the West then gave courage to Zegu.
Should we study these wars keenly, especially among young persons, to be able to understand the future clearly?
I believe so, because I remember I read one English, can't remember very well now. He said, time past and time present are contained in time future. And time future is in time past. So the world goes in a circle. So if you don't understand yesterday very well, you cannot plan for tomorrow. And I believe that part of the problems we have with interpreting the contemporary political situation is the fact that we have not even studied our own past to take advantage of the strengths of our own past.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
The subject of discourse is understanding Nigeria, understanding modern Nigeria, and it comes from understanding the past. In that analysis by Dr. Yemi Farumbi, he throws light on the nature of the Yoruba, on the nature of the Fulani. What are your takeaways from that interview? Call the radio station 070694 930 00 070694 930 00. You can also call the radio station on 070 144 75770.
Yeah, you see, just like Baba said, that the relationship between present and the past is reciprocal. When you understand the past, it will help you to understand the present and alternate solution to it for the future. You see, we have to understand ourselves keenly. I do ask, on what ethos or value system is Nigeria built upon? Is it on a vague, mystic, or astrological belief that we are meant to be? We need to sit down and take this way to do. We need to harness the power in our diversity. If not, we will just be rounding a circle, building a castle in Nigeria. I do see Nigeria is built on grand pretense. Thank you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. What do you understand from the Farumbi interview? His analysis on the Fulani and the Yoruba. What is your takeaway? And how can you use that interview to predict the future? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Edmond.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Jacob, and I'm calling you from Odife Road.
Yes,
Edmond.
Yeah.
I said it's been quite a while, sir. We heard from you. It's been quite a while. I even thought that maybe your friend, Governor Seyi Makinde, must have created a portfolio for you. And he decided to leave without, unceremoniously, without telling us your fans. So welcome back, sir, and I appreciate you. I just got to say hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome back.
Thank you. The lines are open. You listened to the Farumbi interview. What is your takeaway from that interview? 070 694 930 00 070 144 75770. Those are the numbers to call. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Edmond.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, it's great talking to you today. I listened keenly to what Dr. Farumbi had said regarding the Nigeria issue. And what he has said is actually the truth, and nothing can be far from that. The agenda of the Fulanis is still very much potent, and it's shocking that as a collective, as a nation, we are now really delving into the consequence of such incursions on several land. What we are having in the middle belts, like Benue, Taraba, and otherwise, is similar to what Dr. Farumbi already explained in what happened between the Yorubas and the Fulanis at Oshogbo. They are just seeing a repetition of what history has taught us, but because we did not learn from history, we are seeing it replicating itself again in our own time. I just pray that we are going to see that as a very, we're going to see the problem for what it is and address it promptly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. The lines are open. What is your takeaway from the Farumbi interview? The analysis he gave. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome back. Well, Baba Farobi is saying the truth. The problem we have is still there. The late state told them in the north that time that these boys you will put to train, they are the money will not allow your children to rest in the future. Then it was an like educational system. Instead of them will go to foreign country for the best of education, the other that I cannot go to the military service. Today we are now reaching it, and the ambition, the fighting spirit is still there. They want to be made. That's why the motto of Sokoto is born to rule. To rule who? To rule the rest of Nigeria. So until you go and know what we are the problem and face the problem, these are a nomadic tribe. They are not indigenous to Nigeria. They came from outside the country. But yeah, they want to rule. God will help us.
Thank you. You know, as we go, did you know why Awolowo fell out with Ahmadu Bello? You know the core reason why the North wanted Awolowo in prison and they sent him to prison in 1962. Do you know why? If you've read Awolowo's book, I'm going to point out everything. And then you will help me answer the questions I will pose, but not on this edition of the program. On this edition, I'm going to ask a question you help me answer. Why is the Igbo angry with Awolowo? And how has that affected the relationship between the Igbo and the Yoruba in Nigerian politics? Before I take a break, I want to take a call. Call the radio station. You listened to the Farumbi interview. What do you think? 070694 930 00. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Edmund, my friend. Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Edgy. Bodun from Marfete.
Happy to hear your voice.
Thank you. The people will not like, they will not like Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Reason, he was the one that said, you are fighting somebody and you are still giving him food. Don't you know that you are emboldening him? He will be getting stronger and stronger. Cut off food, cut off money, change money, do this. And they said that was what we want to work. Not that Nigeria defeated them. I think you understand me. That's why they hate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. Stay tuned.
There is waning French influence in West Africa, but there is improved Nigerian-French relations. What about the Lukarawa terrorist group in Nigeria? Military coups in West Africa. What does all this portend for peace and security in the West African sub-region? These are the issues we'll be looking at on this edition of State Affairs. My guest is Colonel Adeniyi Ushakwade, retired. Colonel, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you for having me.
The West African region is embroiled in different crises.
Okay.
At the moment, it is about the waning influence of France in the sub-region. What is connected to this?
Yes, thank you. You know, the French colonized these countries. And when they were leaving, the agreement they reached with the leaders they handed over to were not of
interest to the country per se. The agreement was in favor of the French government and to the individuals, the leaders that made the agreement with them. So the country they are leaving behind didn't get much from the agreement. So this is what is causing some of the young, guys in the military today carrying out coup to overthrow the leaders who made those agreements that were not favorable to their countries. They believe that those agreements were like individual, took care of individual interests. And they were after the interests of their countries. So they challenged their leadership. They were able to overthrow the leadership. And the next thing, the French too did not want to talk about this agreement. They have to ask the French government to leave. That was the basic reason why the French influence in the West African regions were winning. Because the young ones that are growing now are not seeing much benefit of French influence in their country.
As we speak, we have different French military bases in West Africa.
Good.
Chad has recently told France to leave.
Good.
And France is already leaving Chad.
Good.
Senegal has indicated interest
Good.
that they won't allow French military bases in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Why should France have a military base? Is it in their own interest or in the interest of West Africa?
Just like I said, insurgency and military banditry, coming up here and there from the Tuareg and the rest, fighting the government of these entire countries. And the French believe they could help the government to push out these militants. But along the way, the result is not yet there. And the military are now saying that if the French are here to help them push up these terrorists, these militants, and they are not achieving a result, why are they here? So the French troops that were on ground did not really do what the government wanted them to do. And that is the reason why the new government are asking them to leave.
Some would say that you have French mining companies in these Francophone countries.
Yeah.
And if these companies must have security, they needed French troops to protect their interests.
Good.
Is that not one of the reasons?
That's one of the reasons. The young military officers that pushed them out believed that the duties of those French soldiers on ground should not be just to protect their companies in their land. It should also be to help in providing security from these militants. But what you are not saying is that the French company on ground, just like I said, the arrangements they made with their government, with the government of the colony, were not of benefit, not of interest to the country itself. The company are making their own profit. The individuals, the leaders who made this arrangement with the French companies are making their own from the agreement, but the country as a whole is making less from this French company mining these resources in the country. So the French soldiers on ground are just there to protect the companies, not even assisting the country to provide security.
But we have seen French troops in combat against terrorist groups in the West African region.
If it has to do with the terrorists attacking the company, they will be out there to protect the company.
But there was this alliance of West African states, a military alliance to tackle Islamic insurgency in the Sahel.
It's not working.
It is not working.
It's not working.
But why wouldn't it work, considering that France is a superpower, if you want to describe it in that way? They have the weaponry, the skills to tackle some of these militants. Why didn't it work?
You see, the military operation is not just having the necessary equipment and whatnot to fight the enemy or the insurgency. It goes beyond that. The French have not really deployed the complete technology that they have to defeat this, this insurgency and these terrorists that are just all over the Sahel region. Now, when you're talking about military operations, there are 4 main functions that you need to carry out in order for you to win your enemy. It's not just when you have the strength and everything. Before you go into any military operation, like I said, military operation is a joint operation. It's not just one single service.
It's not just deploying troops on the ground or just having only the Air Force. It's a joint between the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. That's what we call operation. Anything other than that is not an operation. It must be at least two services. Now, to defeat an enemy on ground, you first of all have to deploy technology to know the exact location where this enemy are. We call it finding the enemy. So finding the enemy is very intrinsic in any operation. Because these four major functions that I will talk about, you have to finish one before you go to the next one. You have to finish the other one before you go to the next one. So it is a sequence that must be followed, which the French have not helped these countries to carry out.
But they found the enemies. They know the location of the enemies.
I don't think so. If they really know the locations based on technology with their satellites and everything, then they should have moved successfully to the next stage. The next stage is fixing the enemy. Fixing the enemy involves the use of Air Force, attacking them from the air. Because from finding the enemy location, you get the exact coordinates of where this enemy are. You put those coordinates in the firing system of the aircraft. So when your aircraft is going there to fix this enemy, they are not wasting logistics, wasting fuel, looking for enemy here and there. They already know the exact location where they are, and they go there, bomb these guys, and then
are the men and women who need to think little of prosperity as an end, for it comes to them whether they seek it or not. Success runs after them and knocks at their door, and they unconsciously command it by methods and methods. Let me read from the book Why We Struck. Understanding modern Nigeria is the subject this morning on State Affairs. The class of history, politics and power. So let's read. On page 2 of Why We Struck, Adewale Ademoyega makes the point. It is to the discredit of the British that they, who understood the principles of personal liberty and who had nurtured the ideals of social justice for 1,200 years, still came to Nigeria in the latter part of the 19th century simply to bolster up the forces of feudalism, and so prolonged the oppression of the people. As was traditional, the peoples of the north did not meekly give in to the rulership of the Fulani. They strove hard to pull down the strange rulership of the Fulani, especially because it completely took away the political freedom to which they were accustomed. Here, Adewale Ademoyega is talking about the Hausas. The Fulanis conquered the Hausas, and the Hausas were preparing to fight back. the Ahusas were already amassing weapons, preparing to fight back and take back Kanu and territories conquered by the Fulani. But at this point, Britain came into the system. Adewale Ademoyega says, unfortunately for the Hausas, the British came in at this particular time with a superior military force and imposed the peace of Britain, rubber stamping the Fulani money over the whole area. After that, every effort by the Hausas and the people to be free was regarded as a rebellion against British rulership and forcibly suppressed. Now let me make one point. The violence going on in the north at the moment, one aspect of the violence is the war between the Fulani and the Hausa. That war that the Hausas did not fight in 1860s. They are fighting it now. So one aspect of the violence in the north is the war between the Fulani and the Hausa. We have a new Minister of Defense who until recently was the Chief of Defense Staff. You know, he made that point that the war going on at the moment is the war between the Fulani and the Hausa. So you can call the Hausa the farmer and the Fulani the headsman. That is just one explanation. It's a complex war, but one of the explanations. Adewale Ademoyega continues. From this, we can easily understand why there was a fundamental difference between the political aspirations of the leaders of the North and South. In the South, political leadership sprang from the people, that is, from the grassroots. These people had been the custodian of their own civil rights before the British came. It was easy and natural for the common people to be active again when political agitation for national freedom became a popular preoccupation of Nigerians in the 1940s. In the North, however, the ruling class made up of the sons and kinsmen of the emirs took over the political leadership of the people. Unfortunately, they represented their own class interest rather than the popular will of the masses. From this reason, one of the reasons Ahmadu Bello was not happy with Awolowo was that Awolowo preached against this system where the elites oppressed the masses in the north. And that is what is called feudalism. Leadership of the kingship elite. Awolowo went there to tackle it, to campaign against it. And he was marked. He was marked. It is about understanding history. The book I'm reading from is Why We Struck, the story of the first Nigerian coup. Now, Adewale Ademoyega is giving reason why they struck. You know, some have called it an Igbo coup. It cannot be called an Igbo coup. Because the author of this book, Adewale Ademoyega, was a critical leader of that coup. So if you call it an Igbo coup, you can also call it a Yoruba coup. Because if you read this book, you know that Adewale Ademoyega was even more critical to the coup than Nzogu. If you read his account, you will know that he's even more critical to the coup than Nzogu. You see, after he had carried out his own aspect of the coup, and he discovered that the guys in Lagos have messed up the coup, do you know Adewale Ademoyega had to travel all the way to the north to go and join Nzogu so that they will finish up the coup? So I need to make that point. That if it was an Igbo coup, then you can also call it a Yoruba coup. Because a main brain behind the coup is a Yoruba man, Adewale Ademoyega. Somehow, some can even call him the leader of the coup because we did not hear his broadcast. So he's giving reasons why they carried out the coup. They wanted to break the feudalism in the north. Are you there? I'm not saying they are right or wrong. I'm only making some points. And this analysis is about understanding the Fulani. It's about understanding the Yoruba and understanding the Igbo. Yes, I'm talking about the Fulani now, but I'm going to move. And it's about building a sense of understanding. Once you build that understanding, you can then build unity. You can then build peace. You can then talk about justice. If you don't build the understanding, you won't be able to solve it. I saw Nigerians celebrating the emergence of a new Minister of Defense. Nigerians like him. It's good. I like it that we like him. But I don't know how long that likeness will last. I don't know how far he can go in tackling it. It is not a question of arms. Even if Donald Trump comes, I see people saying, Donald Trump, come. They are praying in church. Donald Trump, come. Come. If Donald Trump comes, he will worsen the situation. It's not about bombs. It is far more than that. It's not about bombs. America could not defeat the Taliban in Afghanistan. Take note. If America dares put boot on ground in Nigeria, America will go with a bloody nose. Can American troops fight in Sambisa? Yeah, the best they can do is to drop their precision bombs. Drop their precision bombs. But if they dare put boot on the ground, they will be shocked with what they will meet. You know why I make the point? The West African zone has been invaded. By who? The Sahel is in crisis as I'm speaking. The Sahel. The Lake Chad Basin is in crisis. Nigeria has not been able to defeat Boko Haram for 10 years. More than 10 years. Muhammad Yusuf was killed in 2009. So we don't need American bombs, no. We need ourselves. We don't need the U.S. intervention. We need ourselves. We need understanding and sober reflections. This is a period of deep reflection from all, from the leadership, from Edmondo Bilo. We can build a great country if we understand ourselves. And that will help us define the kind of country we want. At this point, let the police be your friend. At this point, let the soldier be your friend. At this point, be alert, be vigilant, but have no fear. In the days to come, the bandits you see today, you will see no more. In the days to come, the poverty that wreaks havoc on the people will be no more. That is why you must open your mind, not to anarchy, but to peace and justice. Mr. Donald Trump, stay in your country. Don't come here. We have problems, we know, but we'll sort ourselves out. Yes, you can assist if you want to. You can assist if you want to. Yes, Christians are being killed, no doubt. Nigeria, a country of particular concern, fine. Christians are killed in Benue, in Plateau. Muslims are killed in Katsina, in Zamfara. Nigerians are killed. But why do the Christians stand by and watch themselves being killed? Have you asked why? Why are the bandits killing Hausas and Fulanis, even in Katsina, in Zamfara? Why? Why is Mali in deep crisis? Why is Burkina Faso suffering from the same crisis? Why is it filtering into Ghana? Who wants to subdue the West African sub-region? Why is military springing up daily? In Guinea-Bissau, there was no military leadership. Ademoyega in his book writes, from this we can easily understand why there was a fundamental difference between the political aspirations of the leaders of the North and South. He makes that point clear. He said this happened because the British governed Nigerians indirectly through their traditional rulers. In the South, they governed through the Obas, Obis, and Amayanabos, who were relatively powerless among their peoples. In the North, they governed through the Fulani emirs, whose sons and kinsmen were the chiefs and native authority officials who lorded it over the people. These emerged as the aristocratic political leaders of the 1940s. As a result, the true leaders of the masses in the North were hamstrung and head down. I advise that you pick up the book and read Why We Struck. If you look at page 4, you have the British concept of tripartition. That will open you to new ideas. He goes further to break down the politics of the North. So read the book. Get your copy and read it. Insofar as man intensifies his energies by conserving them and concentrating them upon the accomplishment of his purpose, just so far does he gain in quietness and silence, in repose and calmness. Calm down. Calm down. The problem is not as huge as you think. The banditry problem is not as huge as you think. Okay. The lines are open. You listen to the Farumbi interview. I have read from Adewale Ademoyega's book. What do you think? 070694 93000. Yes, I can see somebody asking, are you not streaming on Twitter? Okay.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Pastor Fred. My name is Olusegun. I'm calling.
Somebody is saying, are you not streaming on Twitter? No. I am streaming on YouTube. So you can join the stream on YouTube. Search for Edmondo Bilo on YouTube. We are also streaming on Splash FM Facebook page. So from now, I'll be streaming only on YouTube until we change the plan. So for now, search for Edmondo Bilo on YouTube and you can join the stream. We are also streaming on Splash FM Facebook page. All right, the lines are open. Good morning.
Hello?
Please turn down the volume of your radio. Okay, let's let that caller go. Okay. When you call the radio station, please turn down the volume of your radio set. It prevents that echo. Okay? Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Edmond Obilo.
I greet you.
You are welcome. This is King Solomon calling from Kole Ibadan.
Thank you.
Yes, for the first interview about Mr. Borambi, he said
we talk about the country and the. I want to talk about the Civil War. It was the West that caused the Civil War because there was trouble between the Yoruba, that is Akinto, and Awolowo. That is why they struck. Ntogo they struck. And the purpose why Ntogo struck, those things that make them struck, you see, in fact, it's giving more than what it was at then. And he said that America should not form. They were killing people every day. You have not done anything. We cannot handle this thing. You say it's a minor thing. How long will it continue? Since in 60, they've been killing people in this country. Let America come. We can't do it. Let them come. We can't do it. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the Nigerian army can do it, but we don't have the people are aiding them. That is it. Let America come. You see, it is when America told that everybody is going up and down. And you said you've not been saying anything. They are killing people. People are dying. Christians are dying. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. America went to Somalia. When Al-Shabaab started, America wanted to go and bring peace to Somalia. So I advise you as a student of history, go and study America's intervention in Somalia and then tell me what you think. America thought it would defeat Al-Shabaab. America brought in special squad. Did you see when the Black Hawk was shot down? You see when the Black Hawk was shot down? Read about the Black Hawk in Somalia. America went into Libya. Libya has been devastated. Libya will not recover in the next 40 years. America went into Panama. Panama remains one of the poorest countries in the world. America went into Afghanistan. For more than 12 years, America could not bring peace. America abandoned Afghanistan. The best solution is always the solution provided by the people themselves. America cannot solve your problem. America cannot even stop terrorism within the United States. Mr. Donald Trump, stay in your country. Leave us alone. We will solve our problems. We will. Africa will fly. Yes. I have seen the bandits in their caves. They will be handled. Mr. President, the political class must sit up. But if they don't, the bandits will find them. Because more bandits will come. It will come even from the Senate, from the House of Reps, from the Houses of Assembly. It gets to a point where bandits even become leaders. Despite some of these analyses, Donald Trump, stay out of Nigeria. I wish the United States well. The lines are open. Call the radio station. That guy's in the church. That guy's in the church. That's so noisy. Oh, all right, let's take the next call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, that platform.
Good morning.
Visionary speaker, motivational speaker. I highly commend you in that particular platform for strong analysis. I am Ezekiel Oluwafemi. It's my name. You see, the insect eating the vegetable, behind the vegetable, according to our headers in Yoruba land, kokoro tó ń jẹ̀fọ́ ara ẹ̀fọ́ náà ló wà. And the internal war, you hardly conquer it. I'm Ekiti. I'm typically indigenous Ekiti. Ekiti will tell you, Ogunle Akeshe Boroboro. the war within your mother's side or your mother's side, you can't identify, and for you to conquer the war is highly difficult. And only a casketer that looking for help here and there outside, that okay, I'm looking for a solution to conquer this war, the person will later tell you that go back home. This thing I'm seeing is either from mother's side or from your mother's side or your mother's side. So go and be waging the war within both sides. What am I saying in essence? I don't believe, as you said, not until we call this international community to rescue us. We know these particular people. If a governor can tell us that military shouldn't react to them, you know how we engage them. These people do electioneering. They are instruments to use. After they get what they want, they talk to something else. My brother, you can't use me for something you can't use me as an instrument to achieve something. I don't understand. I'm not useful. I will turn against you as a matter of fact. That's personal opinion. I am Ezekiel. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Now.
Thank you. Anyway, I'm trying to understand the point he makes. I hope you understood him. I know he was trying to drive at a point, but I'm still trying to pick. Calm down. Have no fear. Good morning. Now, let me take you to 1967. It is about a country on a knife's edge. The East, under Lieutenant Colonel Chukwemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, is moving towards secession. No one can stop them. War come. What did Ojukwu do? Ojukwu seized federal assets in the East. A civilian plane was detained. The East refused to recognize the central government led by Yakubu Gowon. War was inevitable, and Awolowo was watching. In the Western region, a critical question is being asked. What should Yoruba people do? The Igbos have made up their mind to go to war. What should the Yoruba people do after the North had sent Awolowo to prison? So what was the Igbo thinking at that point? Okay, I'll bring in Yemi Farumbi again. He will lay a groundwork. You know, Gowon, when Awolowo was released from prison, the Calabar prison in 1966, General Yakubu Gowon welcomed Awolowo. Let's bring in Yemi Farumbi, talking about that day. General Yakubu Gowon was on ground to receive Awolowo at Ikeja cantonment when his plane landed in Lagos after he was released from Calabar prison. Why did he accord Awolowo that honor?
Political calculation. Gowon was operating a fragile government as at that time. He just taken over, not because he was the leader of the coup, but because he appeared to be the only acceptable person.
Who was the leader of the coup?
General Murtala Mohammed.
The hot-headed Murtala Mohammed.
Yes. And really wanted to pull out the North from Nigeria until the American ambassador and the UK High Commissioner intercepted. So Gowon need to build a support. We had 4 regions: the North, the East, the Midwest, and the West. As at that time, it was only the Midwest that Gowon could really talk about as being Nigerian. The East, given what has happened in the return match, had lost confidence in Nigeria. The North started from wanting to pull out of Nigeria. They were advised not to. the West didn't belong, and they needed the West. So political calculation, political legitimacy, get Awolowo to support you. Perhaps then you be able to have 3 regions against 1. I don't believe it's any love.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Yes, Farumbi has given us a background into that subject. I'll be back to expand on it. Stay tuned.
Splash FM 105.5.
You were an infantry officer.
Infantry, yeah.
Who is an infantry officer?
If infantry officer, like I said, they are the basic combat arm of the army. Everything the army is doing is for the infantry and the armored officer or personnel to win. It is when they win that we cannot say the army has won. Because they are the one that will occupy the ground that you want to go and that you are fighting for.
Okay, you have talked about combatants. That means you have non-combatant officers.
Yes.
Who are the non-combatant military officers?
Those are that give the necessary support to the combatant to survive.
Like what kind of support?
Like when you talk of the medical personnel in the army, the logistic, the those in the finance, those in the caterers, because we need to eat. You know, this that will supply us the goods, that will supply uniforms, supply water, supply food. So those are well-trained people that will handle that for the infantry and the armor to do their job in the front. Because you cannot be in the front and take care of your administration.
These non-combatants are they trained to handle weapons?
They have to be trained because when they are doing the job, they could be attacked too. So they need to defend themselves. So they are trained. They are doing this job with their weapons, sling to their body too. But they are the rear.
So when push comes to shove, they can fight.
They have to fight. If the rear is attacked, they need to fight for their life. The infantry will be in the front. Those non-combatant will be at the rear. They need to protect themselves too if the rear is attacked. Because the enemy can penetrate the front and attack the rear. So they have to defend their life. That's why they are all trained too.
So let's look at the combatant side.
Okay, good.
Is it divided into how many sections?
Yeah, the combatant side is divided into 5 different groups again. The infantry and the armor, they are the main men that will occupy the ground, the fighting force. Then the other 3 groups, they give the necessary support to the infantry to survive or to win the battle. You have the artillery, you have the engineers, and you have the signals that will give the necessary support to the infantry and the armor to survive.
The infantry are the ones we see chasing Boko Haram,
the one
shooting them.
Yeah, the one with the AK-47, with the machine guns, with all those small arms, chasing fighting face to face with the Boko Haram, with the enemy.
And the armored?
They are the ones in the tanks. We call them the tankers. You know, the tanks, they are heavy weapons, heavy vehicles with big caliber weapons. like 100 millimeter ammunition, 105 millimeter. So they are fighting by the side, operate on its own because the full armored personnel carrier that will assist the infantry to move. You know, if you want the pace to increase, you know, if the infantry is on the foot, it will slow down the advance. But if you want to increase the pace, you put them in the armored personnel carrier. It's not having a bigger caliber of weapon like the tank, but at least can carry more infantry soldiers. So can now move side by side with the tank and protect. So they are seen everywhere. They are on top of the, you know, armored vehicle too. They are inside, they are on top. So they are seen around. So if there is any of this enemy with grenade or with anti-tank weapon to come and destroy the tanks, the infantry on the, what do you call it, the armored personnel carrier can easily come down to take care of those ones.
Artillery units come in.
Yes.
Weapons called.
They are indirect weapons. It's artillery weapons. They are far behind with long barrel, very big barrel like that. They can fire up to 20, 25 kilometer, 30 kilometer base, depending on the size of the caliber of the you know, turret. So they are going to, you know, reduce the capability of the enemy before the infantry guys get there.
So before a military war starts, who starts the war among the combatants?
All of them start the war. Like I said, before the infantryman will go and attack, the artillery has to...
Who fires first?
The artillery have to fire first. When an area has been identified that infantry is going to attack the place, then the artillery fire first at the rear to reduce the capability of the enemy before the infantry will not get there to do the final job.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you also have the signal call.
The signal will provide communication among the infantry, among the armor, among the artillery, so that you communicate with each other. You don't just go to war blindly or without knowing exactly what you are doing. The other person too must know where you are, what you are doing. So the essence of communication, that radio set and everything, that's the job of the signal. They provide those equipment.
So communication is key.
Is key, of course, unless the artillery might fire its own troops. You get the point?
I see.
So if the infantry have to tell the artillery guy, we are at so location. So the artillery will know, okay, they have not got to the target, to the enemy place. So he will wait till when they get close to there before he will now start bombing the enemy location. So that he will not even bomb his own troops.
So without signal, no war.
No war, no war. There will be casualties, you know, caused by your own troops.
Then you have the engineering corps.
The engineering corps, they are to assist you in moving because you might need to cross some obstacles. The engineers will be there to lay bridge on the water body or to assist for your own vehicle to move, you know, freely. The engineer is just to assist you to move. That's their job, because if the terrain is so bad, you might be bogged down. So the engineers are there to assist in the movement and provide some basic like water, you know, where they can get to a place. They are quickly going to do borehole in the front for the troops to have water to drink if they are in defense, you know. So you can see the combat arm, they are working together, all to make the infantry and the armor succeed in capturing the target.
Did you choose to be an infantry officer?
Of course. I just, you know, when we were in the Defense Academy, different officers will come from the different corps and tell you about all these services. So it's not left for you to choose the one you want.
You chose infantry?
I chose infantry. They will give you 3 options. The first one, the second one, the third one. I chose the first one infantry, second one infantry, third one infantry.
Why?
I just love the infantry. I want to be where the action is. I don't want to be at the rear.
But you are exposed to greater risk.
You can be at the rear too. You can still die. Death can come from anywhere. It's not only when you are at the front that you die.
So what is death like? What is death like in the military? You just accept it and move on.
The enemy will shoot you. That's why you have to, during training, you teach you how to see the enemy before the enemy will see you, so that you get him first. Because if he gets you, you are gone. So it's part of the training.
So as a military officer, are you trained not to cry when death comes?
Of course. That's why you get passed through tough training to toughen you. No emotion.
No emotion.
No emotion. When you are there, it happens, you have to go, because the aim is to win. So anything that will make you not to win, that means you are not well trained.
So an officer cannot break down in a war front and begin to cry.
Why will you cry? Because your colleague dies, you want to now start crying. The next thing, the bullet might just touch you, you go too. You just need to find a way, secure his body, move on. Because the next bullet might be your own.
There is waning French influence in West Africa, but there is improved Nigerian-French relations. What about the Lukarawa terrorist group in Nigeria? Military coups in West Africa. What does all this portend for peace and security in the West African sub-region? These are the issues we'll be looking at on this edition of State Affairs. My guest is Colonel Adeniyi Ushakwade, retired. Colonel, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you for having me.
The West African region is embroiled in different crises.
Okay.
At the moment, it is about the waning influence of France in the sub-region. What is connected to this?
Yes, thank you. The French colonized these countries. And when they were leaving, the agreement they reached with the leaders they handed over to were not of interest to the countries per se. The agreement was in favor of the French government and to the individuals, the leaders that made the agreement with them. So the country they are leaving behind didn't get much from the agreement. So this is what is causing some of the young, guys in the military today carrying out coup to overthrow the leaders who made those agreements that were not favorable to their countries. They believe that those agreements were like individual, took care of individual interests. And they were after the interests of their countries. So they challenged their leadership, were able to overthrow the leadership. And the next thing, the French too did not want to talk about this agreement, and they have to ask the French government to leave. That's just the basic reason why the French influence in the West African regions were waning, because the young ones that are growing now are not seeing much benefit of French influence in their country.
As we speak, we have different French military bases.
Good.
In West Africa.
Good.
Chad has recently told France to leave.
Good.
and France is already leaving Chad.
Good.
Senegal has indicated interest
Good.
that they won't allow French military bases in the future. Why should France have a military base? Is it in their own interest or in the interest of West Africa?
Just like I said, insurgency and military banditry, coming up here and there from the Tuareg and the rest, fighting the government of these Sahel countries. And the French believe they could help the government to push out these militants. But along the way, the result is not yet there. And the military are now saying that if the French are here to help them push out these terrorists, these militants, and they are not achieving a result, why are they here? So the French troops that were on ground did not really do what the government wanted them to do. And that is the reason why the new government are asking them to leave.
Some would say that you have French mining companies in these francophone countries.
Yeah.
And if these companies must have security, they needed French troops to protect their interest.
Good.
Is that not one of the reasons?
That's one of the reasons. The young military officers that pushed them out believed that the duties of those French soldiers on ground should not be just to protect their companies in their land. It should also be to help in providing security from these militants. But what you are now saying is that the French company on ground, just like I said, the arrangements they made with their government, with the government of the colony, were not of benefit, were not of interest to the country itself. The company are making their own profit. The individuals, the leaders who made this arrangement with the French companies are making their own from the agreement, but the country as a whole is making less from this French company mining these resources in their country. So the French soldiers on ground are just there to protect the companies, not even assisting the country to provide security.
But we have seen French troops in combat against terrorist groups in the West African region.
If it has to do with these terrorists attacking the company, they will be out there to protect the company.
But there was this alliance of West African states, a military alliance to tackle Islamic insurgency in the Sahel.
It is not working.
It is not working.
It's not working.
But why wouldn't it work, considering that France is a superpower, if we want to describe it in that way?
Good.
They have the weaponry, the skills to tackle some of these militants. Why didn't it work?
You see, the military operation is not just having the necessary equipment and whatnot to fight the enemy or the insurgency. It goes beyond that. The French have not really deployed the complete technology that they have to defeat this, this insurgency and these terrorists that are just all over the Sahel region. Now, when you are talking of military operations, there are 4 main functions that you need to carry out in order for you to win your enemy. It's not just when you have the strength and everything. Before you go into any military operation, like I said, military operation is a joint operation. It's not just one single service. It's not just deploying troops on the ground or just having only the Air Force. It's a joint between the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. That's what we call operation. Anything other than that is not an operation. It must be at least 2 services. Now, to defeat an enemy,
When a man is rescued from selfish desire, his mind is unencumbered and he is free to work for humanity. No longer racing after those gratifications which leave him hungry still. All his powers are at his immediate command. Seeking no rewards, he can concentrate all his energies upon the faultless completion of his duties, and so accomplish all things and fulfill all righteousness. This is the solution to Nigeria's problem. Let me read it again. When a man is rescued from selfish desire, his mind is unencumbered, and he is free to work for humanity. No longer racing after those gratifications which leave him hungry still. All his powers are at his immediate command. Seeking no rewards, he can concentrate all his energies upon the faultless completion of his duties, and so accomplish all things and fulfill all righteousness. May the understanding of these words penetrate your mind. The question was asked, what should the Yorubas do? The Igbos were ready to go to war. The ball was in the court of Obafemi Awolowo. Now, this is the story of Awolowo's position before, during, and after the Civil War, and why the Igbos are angry. To help us understand this history, Farumbi will break it down. There was another meeting of Yoruba leaders of thought in Ibadan on the 1st of May, 1967. In that meeting, Obafemi Awolowo was elected by acclamation as the leader of the Yoruba people.
Yes, after Colonel Robert Adeyinka came to the meeting to appeal to him, he made a speech, passionate speech. If your colleagues say you should lead them, accept to lead them. Of course, Adebayo himself didn't belong to the Awolowo school. It was Pajuyi who shared Awolowo's political philosophy. So he was one of those who needed accommodation by Awolowo. And of course, he had this problem also with the farmers.
Agbekoya.
And it only required the intervention of Awolowo to stop it. In any case, and Awolowo said clearly, I will accept, but that as soon as political parties are allowed to emerge, I will stop being the leader of the Yorubas, because I don't expect all the Yorubas to be in my political party. And that was why in the latter days in his life, you never really made reference to him as leader of the Yorubas. You talked more about his president of UPN, leader of the UPN. From 1977 or 78, he really didn't see himself again as the leader of the Yorubas.
But today, has any man in the history of Yoruba nation assumed the status of Obafemi Awolowo?
The truth is that before him, Yoruba had no leader. And after him, we've not had one like that. I think he's the kind of person that you see one of them in 1 century or so. As a matter of fact, what had given Yoruba solidarity, the solidity they have today, is the quality of mind and action of Awolowo. Nobody ever governed the Yoruba together as one. Nobody. Not even in the days of Oyo Empire, All the Yorubas were never governed as one political unit.
Awolowo was able to bring the nation together.
And he did so well. So everybody became so proud to identify with him.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So, there were two meetings of Yoruba leaders of thought while the East was preparing for war. At the first meeting, they made that offer to Obafemi Awolowo to be the leader of the Yoruba. He had just come out of prison. But I want to focus on the second meeting, the meeting of the 1st of May, 1967. And in that meeting, Awolowo delivered a speech known today as the 4 imperatives. The 4 imperatives. So I want to read from this book entitled Awo on the Nigerian Civil War. Look at the book. I want to read from this book. This book contains the thoughts of Awolowo on the war. So I want to read out the 4 imperatives. Did the Igbo misunderstood him? Awolowo says the aim of a leader should be the welfare of the people whom he leads. Did you get that? Awolowo now is speaking to Yoruba leaders. So he starts by saying that the aim of a leader should be the welfare of the people whom he leads. I have used the word welfare to denote the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of the people. Ha! Can you feel him? Awo. He defines welfare of the people as the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of the people. He says, with this aim fixed before my eyes, I consider it my duty to Yoruba people in particular and to Nigerians in general to place 4 imperatives before you this morning. 2 of them are categorical imperatives and 2 are conditional, he says. Number 1 of the imperatives: only a peaceful solution must be found to arrest the present worsening stalemate and restore normalcy. The second imperative: the Eastern region must be encouraged to remain part of the Federation. The third imperative: if the Eastern region is allowed by acts of omission or commission to secede from or opt out of Nigeria, then the Western region and Lagos must also stay out of the Federation. That's number 3. And that is the bone of contention. What does Awolowo mean by that? You are listening to me. What does this mean? The third imperative: if the Eastern region, that is the Igbo, the Calabar, the Ijaw, if the Eastern region is allowed by act of omission or commission to secede from or opt out of Nigeria, then the Western region and Lagos must also stay out of Nigeria. That's the third imperative. What do you think? The lines are open. What do you think by that statement? Because many Igbo are holding on to that statement. 07069493000 and 071447570. Those are the numbers to call.
Good morning. Citizen Samuel here. Then what the man said, if, that is, if by design or deliberate attempt by the federal government, then the northern federal government drove this southeast away, they not be followed. Those are conditional things. Nobody drove people away. They met in Abuja, in Ghana, had the talk. had some standing agreement. So they went away. At that time, they were going because of the oil well in the south. That's why the greatest problem we have after the Civil War was the abandoned property problem. There was no abandoned property freedom in southwest or Lagos, but they have it in south with the south people. That is so that is Ojukwu they hide just oil well that where they can register oil well, but already the south people did not cooperate with them, and that's why. So in the extremely excuse, they went by the time they went, there was avenue for peace. But they refused the people who wanted to go. They are not talking about the belligerence of the northern people. They are as far as the Fulani, but then it was deliberate. It was the way it was standing. So the Yoruba did not do anything. They came back to the southwest, they collected their property back, they collected their houses back. There was no problem. Nobody was still here as they were doing the other. So what are they complaining about? Let's face reality now.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Yes, that last caller made some fundamental points. You know, Awolowo stated, if you read this book I'm reading from, Awolowo makes a point that he made sure no Igbo person was attacked in the western region. That Yoruba leaders agreed that Igbos must be protected in the western region no matter what. And their properties were protected. After the war, they returned to their properties. Awolowo stated that clearly in some of his speeches here. So what is the Igbo saying? The fourth imperative, Awolowo says the people of Western Nigeria and Lagos should participate in the ad hoc committee or any similar body only on the basis of absolute equality with the other regions of the Federation. He says, I would like to comment briefly on these four imperatives. So he's now going further to explain what he means. He says, there has of late been a good deal of saber rattling in some parts of the country. Those who advocate the use of force for the settlement of our present problems should stop a little and reflect. I can see no vital or abiding principle involved in any war between the North and the East. At that point, Awolowo was saying it as a war between the North and the East. Why the Igbo saw it also as a war between the North and the East. So they felt the only neutral is Yoruba. The North wanted Yoruba on their side. The Igbos wanted Yoruba on their side. We'll get to that point. But let me also remind you, the most stable region in Nigeria today is the Southwest. The most stable region in Nigeria today is the Southwest. Does that speak of something? Why is the Southwest the most stable? As we speak, there is violence in the Southeast, North Central, Northeast, Northwest. Even the South-South. So the most stable is the Southwest. Reflect on that. Awo says, if the East attacked the North, it would be for purpose of revenge, pure and simple. Any claim to the contrary would be untenable. On the other hand, if the North attacked the East, it could only be for the purpose of dominance in the country. So he feels if the North attacked the East, that means the North wants to dominate the East. But if the East attacked the North, the East is going for revenge. What revenge? The pogrom in the North. The pogrom in the North. Yeah. Let me turn to page 16. Awo says, first, if a war east, yes, he did. That is why he joined Gowon. So what convinced him to join Gowon? You see, I'm going to read from two other books so that we have a broader understanding. Is the Igbo justified by that anger. Because I'm looking at the Igbo-Yoruba relationship. Something tells me that relationship, if harnessed, will lead to the development of Africa. Powerful. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm saying. The Yoruba nation, the Igbo nation, the Fulani nation, the Ijo nation. Who is a bandit? I want to turn to page 18 of the book. I'm reading from the book Awo on the Nigerian Civil War. Awolowo made some fundamental points here. He says, so he makes his own demand in that same 4 imperative speech. He now demanded, this is what the Yoruba nation wants. I'm the leader of the Yoruba. This is what we want now. He said, these and other such like demands I do not support. He did not support the demand of the East. 1, the creation of separate regional monetary authorities. The East demanded for that in Aburi, the Aburi Accord. Awolowo says, I do not support the creation of separate regional monetary authorities. That means the East will have its own central bank. The West, the Southwest will have its own central bank. The North will have its own central bank. Awolowo said, no, I do not support that. I do not support the diminution of the appellate jurisdiction of the Federal Supreme Court. That means Ojukwu was thinking of the Igbos having their own Supreme Court. Ojukwu wanted a confederal nation and made his own demand, what the Yoruba nation wants. The Niger Delta belongs to the federal government. So Awolowo in 1967 called for mining to be in the residual list so that the regions can own the mines. That is number 1. Number 2, Awolowo says that revenue should be allocated strictly on the basis of derivation. You know, some are still calling for the reform of the Nigerian constitution. We are still discussing these issues. Awolowo says that revenue should be allocated strictly on the basis of derivation. That is to say, after the federal government has deducted its own services, the rest should be allocated to the regions to which they are attributable. Then number 3, that the existing public debt of the federation should become the responsibility of the region on the basis of the location of the project. You know, it makes the point. You cannot use, the federal government cannot go and borrow money and build railway in Katsina and Zamfara and then want Oyo to pay for it. That's the point he was making. That if you got international loan and you used it to build projects in Zamfara, Zamfara should pay for it. Don't come and take from my own money and pay for it. That's the argument he was making. I hope I got that interpretation right. That the existing public debt of the federation should become the responsibility of the region on the basis of the location of the project in respect of each debt, whether internal or external. Then number 4, that each region should have and control its own military and police force. The president has declared a state of emergency on security as we speak. What is the implication of that? The likelihood of state police. State police. Awolowo had called for regional police long ago, regional army. And that was what Ojukwu called for in Aburi. Ojukwu wanted regional commands. So Awolowo agreed with Ojukwu here. Because this point that Awolowo is calling for, Ojukwu also called for this point in the Aburi agreement. Have you read the Aburi Accord? What are you reading? Pick up those books and read. That's why I'm saying calm down. Once you read these things and you understand them, you will not be alarmed by what is going on. You will only be saying, okay, how do we solve the problem? Because you will see that these things will happen. If you don't do this, this will happen. Whether you bring in General Musa, or you go and wake up General Lagbaja, what will happen will happen. if we don't do certain things. That is why I make this point this morning. Please take this to heart. Individuals, families, nations grow and prosper in harmony with their growth in moral strength and knowledge. Let me make the point again. Individuals, families, nations grow and prosper in harmony with their growth in moral strength and knowledge. They fall and fail in accordance with their moral decadence. Are you there? Go and bring Donald Trump. Bring France. Bring England. Let them come into Nigeria and see. As far as that society is morally decayed, they cannot win a war. I saw PDP elected chairman. When he faced that heat, he was screaming, Donald Trump, come. Donald Trump, come. I said, PDP chairman calling Donald Trump. That Shea Makinde's PDP chairman calling Donald Trump to come and save him. I was alarmed that a party chairman is calling on a foreign country to come and intervene. The same party that misgoverned Nigeria, PDP, the same party that is reaping from its sins. You reap what you sow. PDP is reaping what it sowed or what it has sown. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Garbage in, garbage out. The PDP chairman saying, Donald Trump, come and save us. Hey, people looking for savior. The churches are screaming, come. Even their God cannot save them anymore. They are calling Trump. They don't even believe in their God anymore. Pastors are saying, Trump, come. What happened to their gods? Jesus has abandoned them. They are looking on Trump. Abi, that is what the church is saying. That the church cannot save itself. He wants Donald Trump to come and save it. The church has lost faith in itself. A nation has lost faith in themselves. The PDP chairman calls on Trump to come and save a country that PDP ran down. That APC is running down. They are calling on Trump. Okay. Trump, don't come. We die here. We have put ourselves in this mess. If we don't solve it, we all perish with it. You don't want to perish, right? You are looking for a savior. Trump will not come. You think he will come? He won't come. He's just playing international politics. He's looking for attention. He will come and help you when you have caused the mess. We've all caused the mess. So reflect this morning and say, how do we come out of the mess? And become a country that will lead the charge for peace in Africa. And that requires understanding of ourselves. The church should pray. The mosque should pray. A people save themselves. So Awolowo called for confederation. That's the point he makes here. He says that each region should have and control its own military and police force. That with immediate effect, all military personnel should be posted to their regions of origin. That's the point Ojukwu made in Aburi now. So he agreed with Ojukwu, just that he did agree with some very few points. So what does this mean? Each region should have and control its own military. When a region has its own military, the country is gone now. Because the military is the unifying factor. Because I saw the way you were rejoicing. You were rejoicing when military Yerima stood his ground. You all were celebrating. I saw you celebrating. You were dancing. That yes, because you don't like Wike, right? So the military is right to stand his ground. Yeah, I like the boy. I like his uniform. He was looking gallant. No, gallant. He was looking gallant. But you got gallant in Sambisa. You got gallant on the high sea. What happened was a soft coup against the leadership. The military showing its strength under one government. It represented moral decadence of leadership. It was a battle among themselves. They have been fighting quietly, and when they could not separate themselves, they came publicly. They used Yerima. Says, go and stop him. Who's that guy? That bloody civilian? And the bloody civilian said, no, I'm a temperamental civilian. Don't dare me. I don't care about your uniform. Don't celebrate such occurrence. Yerima did not prove military intelligence. Neither did Wike prove smart governance. It's only a consequence of moral decadence in leadership. That was what happened. You still want to marry Yerima? The ladies I saw you doing pictures, AI pictures, standing. You want to marry him? All right. I wish you well. My aunt is married anyway, so stay out of his way. Are you there? Why is the Igbo still angry, even when Obafemi Awolowo explained himself? Why? Onaburi we stand became the slogan. Okay. Let me hear from you. Let's talk.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. I am Shikidano calling from my girl in Ogun State here. All what you are saying, in fact, I'm surprised. Because Awolowo has gone. He has done what Napoleon could not do. He has actually moved this southwest Nigeria, the best out of the regional that we are having in Nigeria. But that is past tense. But what is at stake now? The insecurity that people are talking about. To me, I don't mind Donald Trump, the United States president, to come to Nigeria to rescue us. The man was really having a very high empathy. Regarding the way people are being slaughtered on a daily basis, and people are being kidnapped and being humiliated in our forest, in our ancestral land. You know, that is the issue that we must discuss. How can we solve the problem? When our nation, our leaders here in Nigeria, they are clamoring for 2027. They don't even bother to pity those families that their families have been killed, have been kidnapped, and their houses have been burnt down. Is this how to raise nation? When we love each other, because I want to put maybe you hear Yoruba. Yes, I want to put in Yoruba adage which says, tí ọmọ àlè kan ò bá tí ìdàgbà ìgbà tó bá dàgbà ló máa dá lérú. And that is the issue of this Fulani herdsmen. Yes, I'm telling you, they have been killing Nigerian people longer time ago. And go and see the financier. They are from the carcass of Fulani. And they are killing our citizens. Those who are going to be the tomorrow nation, we are just killing them for nothing. So government should do the needful and make sure that it takes this nation from this menace. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. Thank you. The lines are open.
Good morning, Mr. Obino.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Tony. I'm calling from Malakia.
Good to hear your voice.
Yes, we are on the Awolowo statement then. You see, it's as if they were looking at the future, like 50 years, 100 years then. Now look at it. When he was saying if the East will go, then the West should also be part of Nigeria. The truth is, with my own understanding, Nigeria belongs to the Northerners. The North is the Nigeria. Nigeria is the North. Looking at it from my own side. Now, if we want everything to settle, we want a better country, let's go back to regional, or we should go segregate. I was at a local government yesterday. The place wasn't looking like a local government. It was looking like, not even like a government building, like an abandoned building. Look at it. All of them just to Abuja, to the central. Let them go back to their regions. Look at all these senators, federal reps. What are they doing here? Let them go back to their regions. You see, development should be something like competition. We should all compete. Like, okay, yes, this is what I have. My resources can get me there. That's what we need. We all this talk every time. This is as if we don't know what we are doing. This is what we need. So we need to look for that. Either we go back to regional or we go segregate. That's my own opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's take that call.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
My take is very simple. Until this security system, whereby you have to know someone who knows someone before you get into the military, whatever. Our security system in Nigeria will not work. And concerning the man coming down to the airport, I think I died to this. Because we are not handling this thing. And people are dying. And people are being kidnapped. People are being please, if he's coming here, we stop the killing. And if we take control of anything else, we want the killings are stopped. I think I like the idea of him coming down to airport. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He can't stop it. That's the point I'm making. What happened in French West Africa? Why do you think countries in West Africa began to chase out French troops? France occupied these countries for more than 15 years on the grounds of fighting bandits. They could not. That was why there was a coup in Burkina Faso. France is a world power. They gave France mines, everything, all the support. France could not stop the bandits. In Mali, the same thing. France could not. Was launched after the 9/11 bombing. George Bush launched AFRICOM to check the rising spate of Islamic insurgency in the Middle Belt. They know it was going to come to Africa, in the Middle East rather. So they launched AFRICOM in 2007 to check rising Islamic insurgency in the Middle East because they saw it coming to Africa. Since 2007, how far? Is it not worsening? America boots are on the ground. Their ships are on the high sea in Africa. How come they've not stopped it since 2007? Study AFRICOM. They can't stop it. It's we that can stop it. It's me. I will stop it. I don't know about you. It's not about foreign powers. It doesn't work that way. They will come and cause devastation. And you see, Nigeria is so fragile that if the US drop their precision bombs, bam, 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 the country is also fragile. It might lead to internal wars. Be careful of what you called for. By the time they begin to bomb, yes, if they want to bomb us, we can't stop them. Nigeria is a weak country. That's why Donald Trump can confidently come out to talk the way he spoke down on us. I can't even use the words he used on Nigeria, on me, on Edmondo Bilo and my family. I felt insulted by Donald Trump. I still feel insulted. I don't read that tweet. He spoke to us as Nigeria is a no country. That is not acceptable. Yes, we have failed in leadership. We have not been able to tame the violence, yes. But it does not reduce us to nothing. The African is coming. This is the age of the African. Take my words. 6 miles to the moon, we will reach the stars. We will build aeroplanes and we will fly so high. Have you read this book? The Making of an African Legend. The Biafra Story by Frederick Forsyth. After this break, I will read from this book. Then I will also read from this book, Awo, Unfinished Greatness by Olufemi Ogunsowo. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Splash
There is waning French influence in West Africa, but
they were after the interests of their countries. So they challenged their leadership, were able to overthrow the leadership, and the next thing, the French too did not want to talk about this agreement, and they have to ask the French government to leave. That's just the basic reason why the French influence in the West African regions were waning, because the young ones that are growing now are not seeing much benefit of French influence in their country.
as we speak, we have different French military bases.
Good.
In West Africa.
Good.
Chad has recently told France to leave.
Good.
And France is already leaving Chad.
Good.
Senegal has indicated interest
Good.
that they won't allow French military bases in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Why should France have a military base? Is it in their own interest or in the interest of West Africa?
Just like I said, insurgency and military banditry, coming up here and there from the Tuareg and the rest, fighting the government of these Sahel countries. And the French believe they could help the government to push out these militants. But along the way, the result is not yet there. And the military are now saying that if the French are here to help them push out these terrorists, these militants, and they are not achieving a result, why are they here? So the French troops that were on ground did not really do what the government wanted them to do. And that is the reason why the new government are asking them to leave.
Some would say that you have French mining companies in these Francophone countries.
Yeah.
And if these companies must have security, they needed French troops to protect their interest.
Good.
Is that not one of the reasons?
That's one of the reasons. The young military officers that pushed them out believed that the duties of those French soldiers on ground should not be just to protect their companies in their land. It should also be to help in providing security from these militants. But what you are now saying is that the French company on ground, just like I said, the arrangements they made with their government, with the government of the colony, were not of benefit, were not of interest to the country itself. The company are making their own profit. The leaders who made this arrangement with the French companies are making their own from the agreement. But the country as a whole is making less from this French company mining these resources in their country. But the French soldiers on ground are just there to protect the companies, not even assisting the country to provide security.
But we have seen French troops in combat against terrorist groups in the West African region.
If it has to do with the terrorists attacking the company, they will be out there to protect the company.
But there was this alliance of West African states, a military alliance to tackle Islamic insurgency in the Sahel.
It's not working.
It's not working.
It's not working.
But why wouldn't it work, considering that France is a superpower, if you want to describe it in that way? They have the weaponry, the skills to tackle some of these militants. Why didn't it work?
You see, the military operation is not just having the necessary equipment and whatnot to fight the enemy or the insurgency. It goes beyond that. The French have not really deployed the complete technology that they have to defeat this, this insurgency and these terrorists that are just all over the Sahel region. Now, when you are talking of military operations, there are 4 main functions that you need to carry out in order for you to win your enemy. It's not just when you have the strength and everything. Before you go into any military operation, like I said, military operation is a joint operation. It's not just one single service. It's not just deploying troops on the ground or just having only the Air Force. It's a joint between the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. That's what we call operation. Anything other than that is not an operation. It must be at least two services. Now, to defeat an enemy on ground, you first of all have to deploy technology to know the exact location where this enemy are. We call it finding the enemy. So finding the enemy is very intrinsic in any operation. Because these four major functions that I will talk about, you have to finish one before you go to the next one. You have to finish the other one before you go to the next one. So it is a sequence that must be followed, which the French have not helped these countries to carry out.
But they found the enemies. They know the location of the enemies.
I don't think so. If they really know the locations based on technology with their satellites and everything, then they should have moved successfully to the next stage. The next stage is fixing the enemy. Fixing the enemy involves the use of air force, attacking them from the air. Because from finding the enemy location, you get the exact coordinates of where this enemy are. You put those coordinates in the firing system of the aircraft, so that when your aircraft is going there to fix this enemy, they are not wasting logistics, wasting fuel, looking for enemy here and there. They already know the exact location where they are, and they go there, bomb these guys, and then you dislodge them. You are able to, reduce their capacity to fight. We call it destroying their freedom of action. So if the French have not done that successfully, there is no how they can win the insurgents or the terrorists.
So the point you are making is that France has not fully deployed its military powers to check the insurgencies in the Sahel.
They have not done that.
Why didn't they do that? What do you think?
Because they are after the companies that they have come to protect. It's the company that is making money for their government back at home. Going to look for the exact location where the enemy are will cost them some logistics too, which the home country have not provided.
Some would say that perhaps big powers would prefer instability, so their companies could mine with ease.
As long as the area where their companies are mining is free, is safe, they don't care about other areas.
Some would even say some of these insurgencies are foreign inspired.
That is another story. It might not.
That they create it, give the state problem to handle, while they take their time to extract resources.
To do the mining. That is another angle.
Because some are saying in places like Zamfara, that what you have as bandits are created to invade communities and mine resources.
Like I said, that's another angle to the story. But you as a country, you want your areas to be safe, to be free of any activity of insurgency or any activity of banditry or thereabout. So you just have to know what demand for what you need. You don't want to know who's sponsoring them. So if a foreign country is coming to your country, you have to tell the foreign country, this is what I want you to do. So if you are not successfully doing it, then why are you here? So that's why these young, officers and the rest in the Sahel region, they are not saying, why are they here if they cannot even give them the security?
So does that mean that the recent military coups in the sub-region were justified?
Of course. It's very justified. Those who asked them to go have good reason to demand that they should leave, because they've not provided what they've asked them to come and do.
But these coups ended constitutional democracies.
They are after the interest of their people. The people need basic services. If constitutional democracy cannot provide those basic services, which is security and welfare,
So he writes a book, The Making of an African Legend, The Biafra Story. He says here, Chief Awolowo had just returned from a visit to Colonel Ojukwu in Enugu, and he had been able to witness for himself the death of the feeling in the East. According to Colonel Ojukwu, Awolowo had asked if the East would pull out of Nigeria, and the reply had been that it would not until and unless it was absolutely offered no alternative. After seeing the situation for himself, with the sufferings of the Eastern people, remember, of May 1967, as the leader of a conciliation committee from Nigeria. So that's the point Forsyth is making here, that Awolowo and Ojukwu had a private discussion. Let's read. After seeing the situation for himself, Awolowo sympathized with the sufferings of the Eastern people and asked that if the East was going to pull out, that Ojukwu should give him 24 hours notice, and that if he got the notice, he would do same for the West. That if Ojukwu gave him 24 hours notice to tell him that the Igbos are ready to pull out, then he would also do same and pull out Yoruba land from Nigeria. So Forsyth says this he was promised. Later, he got the forewarning, but by that time, he had been swayed round by other attractions and failed to fulfill his intent. So now, it is beyond just the four imperatives. He goes on to state, from the point of view of the Yorubas, it was a pity, for if Awolowo had stuck to his guns, the federal government, unable to face two simultaneous disaffections, would have been forced to fulfill the Aburi Agreement to the letter. You know, at some point, Awolowo pulled out of the ad hoc conference organized by Gowon, insisting that Gowon must withdraw all the Hausa Fulani armies in Yoruba land. Because at that point, the North occupied Yoruba land. And Awolowo insisted, order this troop out of Yoruba land. That is why he insisted that take the Yoruba army to Yoruba land. Take the Hausa Fulani army to Hausa Fulani land. Because at that point, the northern soldiers were occupying Ibadan. And Awolowo insisted that they must go. So Forsyth is insisting that if Awolowo had stood his ground to the end, that the North would have had no option but to agree to the Aburi Agreement, leading to a confederation. But the fact that Awolowo now changed his mind and supported Gowon gave the North the power to attack the East. Had he done so, Nigeria would probably be at peace today, not as a unitary state of 12 provinces, but as a confederation of quasi-autonomous states living in harmony. That is Forsyth there. In a private discussion, according to him. In a private discussion. You know, these books are interesting. It's when you read, okay, I read every book on the wall, so I form my own view. There are different narratives of the war. Let's listen to Kanayo Esinulo. Another reason the Igbos are angry is the issue of 20 pounds. 20 pounds, that subject. Forsyth raised the point here. Let's listen to Kanayo Esinulo. He was a personal assistant to Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu during and after the war.
But by this time, there was no victor, no vanquished.
That was the grammar that they were pushing to the international community. And that was one of the responsibilities of Emeka, to make sure that this no vanquished, no victor, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and all the 3 R's, they were all grammar. You are rehabilitating people and you are giving my father, with all the money he had, with ACB, African Continental Bank, and Melverton Avenue, Aba, you are giving him £20 that he withdrew money during the war. If he didn't withdraw money during the war, how could he have fed his family? And the thing goes round. Chuks Lebanon will give you his own experience from his own father too. Can you give my father £20? He had a lot of money at ACB.
Was Awolowo wrong for that policy? Or is it go on? But Awolowo was the Commissioner of Finance.
No, but the ball rose and remains at the table of Yakubu. When people call that policy was engineered and pushed down the throat of the federal government in February or March 1970 by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, it doesn't make any sense to me. The ball stopped on his table.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Kanayo Isinulo has written a book entitled Ojukwu, Exile, Diplomacy and Survival. This is Kanayo Isinulo's book. Chief Tola Adeniyi also responds. So let's listen to the acclaimed journalist.
He meant well for Nigeria. He meant well for humanity. He was a people's man.
Did he mean well for the Igbos?
He meant well for everybody. If he didn't mean well for Igbos, he won't make Igbo man his running mate.
That was after the war.
No, in 79, he made this. If he didn't like them during the war or after the war, how could he make his running mate an Igbo man?
Some Igbos are angry that during the war, he was the finance commissioner of Nigeria.
Yeah, and number 2 man. Yes.
Some said he made the argument that hunger is a legitimate instrument of war.
Yeah, but that's a known fact anywhere in the world. Starvation is a legitimate weapon of war. And it wasn't the head of state. And in any case, like I argued with one of my friends, I have a lot of people friends, quite close friends, like I mentioned, Ubiozo and so many of them. Why should they continue to make friends with people who never regarded them as human beings? Not even as recent as some 8 years ago, or even 4 years ago, 8 years ago, thereabout, Buhari was calling them a dot in a circle.
So you're saying that on a good day after what happened before the war and after the war,
no Yoruba man will go back to where their wives and children were treated the way the Igbos were treated. No Yoruba man will ever go back there. None. I can say that with all authority at my disposal.
And now some of them are calling for Biafra.
Yes, I know. Some of them, yes. But those calling for Biafra were not Igbo leadership.
Is there anything like Igbo leadership?
There must be. Every culture must have some people they defer to.
But
I know Igbos are Republican, I know that.
Yes, and they are cephalous.
I know that, but they still respect some people. They respect their grandparents, they respect their parents. I don't buy the stupid talk that an Igbo man will wake his mother up by kicking her in the ass. No, it does. I went there, they shifted to in the east, I went to the east. I saw that even the Igbo girls couldn't even smoke in their father's houses.
Yeah.
I found that an Igbo woman will not bring a boyfriend to sleep with her in her father's house. I found that out. And we didn't know that in the West here. I found serious moral rectitude among the Igbo girls.
So the point is that Awolowo didn't hate the Igbos.
Never. You didn't. I mean, this woman Odumadu was the leader of the woman leader of the UPN, an Igbo woman. Awolowo did not hate the Igbos at all. Awolowo had no stomach for hatred.
But some would say Awolowo should have avoided that war cabinet.
It was a call for duty. He didn't. Gawan released him from prison. If Gawan said he needed his wisdom, he needed his service, he needed his expertise, of course.
To fight against the Igbo.
Not to fight. I mean, it was in the cabinet before the war started, so it couldn't have been to go and fight the Igbos.
But before the war started, it was clear that Nigeria was moving towards a war situation.
Yeah, that was not Awolowo's creation. It was the creation of those the Igbos continue to worship.
The Igbos continue to worship who?
They continue to worship those who hated them and who treated them like they didn't belong to this world.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Splash FM 105.
There is waning French influence in West Africa, but there is improved Nigerian-French relations. What about the Lukarawa terrorist group in Nigeria? Military coups in West Africa. What does all this portend for peace and security in the West African sub-region? These are the issues we'll be looking at on this edition of State Affairs. My guest is Colonel Adeniyi Ushakwade, retired. Colonel, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you for having me.
The West African region is embroiled in different crises.
Okay.
At the moment, it is about the waning influence of France in the sub-region. What is connected to this?
Yes, thank you. The French colonized these countries, and when they were leaving, the agreement they reached with the leaders they handed over to were not of interest to the countries per se. The agreement was in favor of the French government and to the individuals, the leaders that made the agreement with them. So the country they are leaving behind didn't get much from the agreement. So this is what is causing some of the young, guys in the military today carrying out coup to overthrow the leaders who made those agreements that were not favorable to their countries. They believe that those agreements were like individual, to take care of individual interest, and they were after the interest of their countries. So they challenged their leadership, they were able to overthrow the leadership, and the next thing, the French too did not want to, talk about this agreement. They have to ask the French government to leave. That was the basic reason why the French influence in the West African regions were winning, because the young ones that are growing now are not seeing much benefit of French influence in their country.
As we speak, we have different French military bases in West Africa.
Good.
Chad has recently told France to leave, and France is already leaving Chad. Senegal has indicated interest that they won't allow French military bases in the future. Why should France have a military base? Is it in their own interest or in the interest of West Africa?
Just like I said, insurgency and the military banditry, coming up here and there from the Tuareg and rest, fighting the government of these entire countries. And the French believe they could help the government to push out these militants. But along the way,
its people, and Awo. They were green with envy when Awolowo turned the Western region into the pace-setter of the Federation with the first television service in Africa, free education, for example. He made Zik their idol look second-rate. While the British were probing Zik for lodging government revenue in his bank, Awo had accomplished so much for the Yoruba and constructed a welfare state for them. Only Ojukwu and a few others appreciated Awolowo's achievement. Ogunsowo continues. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Awolowo was seen as a collaborator of the Federalists, yet he was not the only non-Igbo civilian in that administration. Chief Awolowo has defended his conduct as far as the accusations against him on the Biafran question was concerned. What was the main grounds against him as perceived by the average Igbo at that time? First, it was claimed that after the Igbos, led by Ojukwu, seceded from Nigeria, Awolowo refused to follow suit by taking the West out of the Federation in May 1967. Instead of doing so, when he had declared in Ibadan that if the East was pushed out, the West would quit the Federation, he added the weight of his political acumen and expertise in managing the economy to help Gowon's administration to subdue the secessionists. Olufemi Ogunsowo continues. In more specific terms, it was alleged that Awo did a number of things during and after the Civil War, which demonstrated that he hated the Igbo as a people. They alleged that it was he who advised the federal military government of Yakubu Gowon to change the Nigerian currency in January 1968, thus cutting Biafra off from the international money market. Secondly, they alleged that in June 1969, when Biafran children were dying of kwashiorkor, he said that starvation was a legitimate weapon of war. Biafra lost 1.5 million people. Thirdly, they argue that after the Civil War, Awolowo did not assist the East Central State financially as the Federal Minister of Finance. According to his critics, he refused to give any assistance to the African Continental Bank, where most of the cash of the former Biafrans were trapped. In addition, they accused him of confiscating the savings of every Igbo in commercial banks for £20 flat and banned their favorite delicacy, stockfish and second-hand clothing, which promised some respite for their battered economy after the Civil War. On page 181, Olufemi Ogunsowo writes, Chief Awolowo has refused most of these charges as a blatant misrepresentation of the fact. First, he denied luring anybody to secession and war. He said his speech at the Yoruba Leaders of Thought meeting at Ibadan in May 1967 could not and was not an invitation or a goading to secession or the dismemberment of the country. He stated that his four imperative speech contained nothing to suggest secession. All he said was that the East should not be bullied out of the Federation. Was the East forced out? Ogunsowo asked. Awolowo argued, he quotes Awolowo here. Yes, I've read this interview somewhere. So Awolowo makes the point, it insults the intelligence of the Igbos as a group to imply that they were heartened to opt for secession on the basis of my speech. On the contrary, Awolowo had advocated on the eve of the war that the Eastern region must be encouraged to remain as a part of the Federation. He did not stop with mere admonishment and platitude in his caution. Ogunsowo says Awolowo took the risk of traveling by road to Enugu in the middle of the crisis to lead a delegation to plead with Ojukwu to relent and take the cautious road to save precious Igbo lives on the battlefield. Ojukwu refused. That is Ogunsowo's analysis of the event. You want to read more? Yes, get the book Awo, Unfinished Greatness by Olufemi Ogunsowo. So these are the positions. Understanding these issues leads to the understanding of modern Nigeria. Awolowo's daughter, Dr. Tukumbo Awolowo Dosumu, speaks on behalf of her daddy.
You know, in court, before the judge sentenced him, he predicted the darkness that would follow his imprisonment. And we saw it in the Western region.
Yes.
And eventually there was a civil war. Today, the Igbo tribe, many in Igbo land, feel that Awolowo connived with the rest of Nigeria to deal with the Igbo.
What runs through my mind is that he did his best to avoid that war. He did his best to convince Ojukwu not to go to war. He actually went to visit Ojukwu in company of Professor Aluko and a couple of others. He knew that the West was not in a position to go into war at that time, because not only did we not have the men, there were also military bases stationed in the Western region. So the region, people in the region would be more or less sitting ducks. So he knew, and he had several conversations over the phone with Ojukwu and all of that. The irony is that when the Constitution, the Independence Constitution was being drafted, he proposed a clause that would make it possible for any region that wanted to opt out to do so. But I think Sir Ahmadu Bello supported that. But Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe opposed it. And so that clause didn't make it into the Constitution. That's the irony of all of this. And so he documented everything that he did before, during, and after the war. It's all very well documented. So I don't, because when I talk about it, I now become the butt of the angst of people who still believe that Awo was the ogre, the one that did everything bad to the East. That could not be further from the truth. The transcript of his conversations with Ojukwu when he went to the East, he wasn't even aware that they were being recorded. But after the war, when the federal troops moved in, they found all those tapes and they were transcribed, and they are in a book that was published by I forget his name. Yeah, so it's so when I look at it, he was always a federalist. Yeah, it all flows from all of that.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So if you want to listen more to this analysis, you can go on my YouTube page. The videos are there. I have done some analysis on the subject. So next week is another time. The next program is Ijoba Tiwa with Sheun Special. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Thank you for being there.